pals, I have been in the world's biggest reading slump. I have DNF 14 books this month. Or it might have been last month. I'm losing track of time, but I'm not enjoying reading right now. And I need that to change. So, what we're doing, every year, no, that's a lie, I started it this year. At New Year, I wrote down all of the books on my Storygraph TBR, my digital TBR, that I still hadn't read. I wrote them down on paper, and those were the books that I was going to try and finish before the end of the year. I have whittled that list from about 150, 160 down to about 50 to 60. So I've done pretty well. However, I'm really struggling to get excited about books and I can't really remember what's on there. So what I'm doing is I am whittling away at that list and I'm just going to chuck books that don't interest me anymore because I don't put a lot of thought into putting books on my digital TBR. I am 100% a DNFer. Like, if I'm not enjoying a book, I will DNF it. But I need to make sure that I'm picking up books that excite me. So if the books aren't exciting me, they've got to go. And it's a digital TBR, so it's not like I'm actually chucking these books away. I've just decided they're not going to be on my list. They're not going to be a priority for me, and that is fine. So, welcome to this quickfire round of what is on my digital TBR and what I will be keeping and what I will be chucking. Metaphorically, because again, they're digital, it's just a list. My list is here, so if I'm looking this way, my list is here because I can't remember this stuff off by heart. First off, we got Modern Divination by Isabel Agajanian. This is staying. This is about a girl who loses her magic and has to befriend an arrogant co-worker and lump it in with a family of peculiar witches. It still sounds good to me. I've heard some good things. It's staying on the list. Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. I was really excited for this. Then I heard a review where someone described it as will they won't they for 250 pages, but there's no actual satisfying ending. That sounds awful. It's off. Upon a Burning Throne by Ashok K. Banker. This has been floating around in my radar for ages. I couldn't tell you what it's about. I'm not excited for it. It's not a I'm never going to read it. I'm not excited for it now. Maybe I'll come back to it. That's a no, in case that wasn't clear. I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons by Peter S. Beagle. This is a yes. It's got dragons in it. End of story. Also, the cover looks like this. Accidental Magic by Iris Beaglehole. A, cracking author name. B, this is a cozy magical mystery that actually seems to have elements that I think I would enjoy. Let me list some for you. It says it's humorous and it's got mystical creatures in it, which is a big old tick for me. So that's staying on the list. Blood and Moonlight by Erin Beattie. I don't really remember what this is about. I looked it up and it says it's young adult and I'm not super interested, so that's just, no, not worth it, off the list. Blood Debts by Terry J. Benton Walker. I think this is, I want to say Vampires in New Orleans, but again, listed as YA and sounds like the sort of YA plot that I don't vibe with, so off the list. We're not going to try that. To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monocle Blackgoose. I have been wanting to read this for ages. I am still excited about this. I will be keeping this on the list. Beautiful Demons by Sarah Cannon. This is only on the list because I quite like watching her writing videos on YouTube and I wanted to see what her writing was actually like because I've not read any of it. A lot of her writing advice I find really quite helpful, but having reread the blurb, I just don't think I'm going to enjoy this book because it's like paranormal romance and then I'm really just not feeling that at the moment. So maybe sometime, not this time. Secrets of the Dead by Laura Carter. I've said yes to this. Can't remember what this book is. Oh, this is when an explosion knocks out all of the leaders of a group of countries and suddenly all their heirs have to take the throne and muddle through it. I'm in two minds. I'm curious to see if this is the sort of thing I would like or if I'm just going to hate it, but I won't know until I try, so it's staying on the list so I can try it. The Binding of Blue Mountain by Siggy Chambers. This is about someone who wanders into a foresty, wooded area, I think national park, and stumbles across a land full of magical creatures. Yeah, of course that's staying on the list. Heartless Hunter by Kristen Ciccarelli? Couldn't tell you what this is about. I said no. Oh, this is one where it's got a lovely cover, but it's listed as a young adult romance, which is a no for me, so that's going. The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This has been touted for so long in literally any bookish sphere that I reside in, and you know what? I'm still intrigued. I think it's sapphic. I think there's maybe non-binary or trans representation in there, so I'm gonna give it a go. I'm not... In my head, it sort of falls into the Jasmine Throne sort of category, but I don't know, I haven't read it. So, it's staying on the list. Master of Gin by P. Jelly Clark. I really like P. Jelly Clark's writing, I just haven't got around to reading this one. It's good that it's there because I keep forgetting I want to read this one, so it's staying on the list. The House Witch by Dellenbach. I keep mixing this up with The Honey Witch, which I really don't want to read. The House Witch, however, I do. Oh, my bag, it's Delem Hach, not Delem Bach. When Finley Ashawan joins the staff of the King and Queen of Daxara, he's an enigma. No one knows where he comes from or how he came to be where he is, which suits Finn just fine. He's satisfied simply serving as the royal cook, keeping nosy passers-by out of his kitchen and concocting some truly uncanny meals. But Finn's secret identity doesn't stay hidden for long. After all, it's not every day a house witch and his kitten familiar, Kraken. We're getting a kitten soon. Maybe we should call it Kraken. Take to meddling in imperial affairs. As his powers are gradually discovered by the court, Finn finds himself involved in a slew of intrigues, going head-to-head with knights with less than chivalrous intentions, helping to protect the pregnant queen, fending off the ire of a royal mage, and uncovering a spy in the castle. And that's only the beginning. Yeah, that sounds amazing, and now I want to call the new kitten Kraken. That's obviously staying on the list. Ella P by Mark Dunn. I've heard a lot about this book. It's about a town where they have a big old sign, which I think it says the thing about the lazy dog jumps over the quick brown fox, or the other way around, which has all the letters of the alphabet in it. One day, one of those letters drops off and they take it as a sign from the gods that they have to stop using that letter in everything they do. And I think the book does it too, and gradually more letters fall off the sign. And I think it's going to be quite clever. I don't know what the calibre of the plot is going to be like, but the concept of writing a book with fewer and fewer letters, love it. I think that's really cool. We're going to give that a go. That's a yes. Okay, The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. This is about queens are the only ones that can stop the malignant spirits in a forest from attacking people and humans and things like that. This sounds really dull. The blurb is really vague. I'm not really sure why it's on my TBR, so it's off now. That's good. What Should Be Wild by Julia Fine. Oh, this is like Pushing Daisies. Basically, this girl can resurrect or kill with a touch of her finger, and she is picked for something, and she's the only one that can remove a curse. And I just, it's not giving enough. It's also quite lowly rated on Goodreads, so that's coming off. That's a no. These Murky Hells by Rosie Forrest. Oh, this one's just really, really vague. Luna was trained to kill. She spent her entire life knowing that her purpose was to assassinate an enemy, eradicate a threat, but once she does, something is unlocked within her, a thirst for blood, a hunger for death. As she learns more about her past and new instincts, she realises she can't trust anyone, not even herself. What happens when the chosen one chooses herself? That is so vague and could be describing literally any number of books. No, that can go. That's not happening. Down the Drain by Julia Fox. I think Julia Fox is a really interesting individual, and I would love to read something that she has written about her life. I just think I'd be really intrigued by that. I also think I'd have to do audiobook because the non-fiction in my eyes don't mix. Non-fiction in my ears do. Evocation by S.T. Gibson. No. I've lost interest in this. I've not read anything else by S.T. Gibson. I got the vampire one. Is it Diary of Blood? Out from the library, and I never ended up reading it because I just don't think I'm interested. I also think this is going to be one of those ones that has really good ideas, and I'm not hearing good things about it. I'm not interested. It's a no. Which is a shame because the cover is, I love it. The cover, I love it. It reminds me of Dragon Age 2 if you've played it. You know, the pub, the hangman. The Thorns Remained by J.J.A. Harwood. That's a mouthful. Oh no, this is about a woman whose husband goes off in the First World War and discovers the Fae while he's away, and I'm just, nope. I need Fae books right now to be written in very specific ways and about very specific aspects of like Fae things, or I'm just not interested. I think I've got kind of Fae burnout at the moment, so it's just a no. No thank you. The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. I've heard nothing but good things about this, though I have heard there's a lot of triggers in it. I believe I heard one creator say that it has like every trigger warning under the sun in it, which I'm mentally preparing myself for, but I am still really excited about it, so it's staying on the list. The Water Outlaws by S.L. Huang. I spotted this in a bookshop ages and ages ago and didn't buy it because I couldn't afford it then, but it's been on my list ever since, and having reread the blurb, I'm pretty sure I'm still into it. Ling Chong is an expert arms instructor who ends up with a bunch of bandits, and they're murderers, thieves, smugglers, cutthroats. They love like demons, fight like tigers, and together they could bring down an empire. That sounds pretty good, so that's staying on the list. Bad Cree by Jessica Johns. Again, can't remember what this is about, but I have said yes. It is about a girl being stalked by a murder of crows both in and out of her dreams. I can't tell you why I still want to read this, but I do still want to read it, so it's staying on the list. Morgan Is My Name by Sophie Keach. I will be keeping this one because I already own it, and the bookseller in Waterstones told me really good things about it. So I am also really excited because Morgan Le Fay is hot shit, and her being retold by a woman can only be good, right? The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Khor. This is staying on my list because it's got creepy mermaids in it and it's really short. So there you go. A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. This isn't out yet, but T. Kingfisher is still on my list of auto by authors, so I will read whatever she puts out. I don't necessarily like everything she puts out, but I will try it all. Bug Boys by Laura Netzker. I own this. I will be reading this. This is staying on the list. This is a graphic novel about bug boys. Enough said. The Changeling by Victor Laval. I put this on because I like changelings and I thought it was time to read like some books that maybe weren't so modern, because this was, I think this was like noughties, maybe the early 2010s. But I reread it and it sounds more literary than I want it to be, so I'm just taking it off my list. Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I think this just sounded like every other YA book ever. It's also young adult. Yeah, absolutely not. Girl dresses as boy to get her dream job of becoming tailor to the emperor, and then a boy with piercing eyes catches her attention. So no from me. Redemption in Indigo. This was described as a mix of Amos Tutiola and someone else that I've never heard of, but I have read some Tutiola and I really enjoyed it. And it's supposed to be a really funny story. About what, I couldn't tell you. Oh yeah. It's about a woman with a fool and a glutton for a husband, but the Jombi, which I think are like demons or gods or mystical people, present her with a gift, the Chaos Stick. And then apparently another Jombi decides that the Chaos Stick should be his instead. And then it's apparently funny and fantastic and a contemporary fairy tale, which is just so up my alley, it's not even funny. So that's staying on the list. Okay, The Helm of Midnight by Marina J. Lostetter. This is about a group of thieves who steal an artifact from a museum, but it is actually possessed by the spirit of a serial killer, which they unleash on the world again. Sounds fantastic. Sounds like some like Scooby-Doo shit, but for adults. So yeah, that's staying on the list. A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. This is not out yet. I do really want to read it because I did enjoy A Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I don't normally enjoy that genre. So if she can pull it off again, I'm happy to give it a go. Under Earth Over the Sky, Emily McCosh. Aha, this is a fae book, but it's not like any other fae book I've heard of. So it's about a fae king who finds a dying human baby on the borders of his lands, and it's about him raising that child. So there's no romance, as far as I'm aware, and there's no like will she won't they love triangles. It's about properly ruling his fair folk and raising the fragile human son he never should have saved in the first place. Perfect. I believe I did a ranty video about bookish pet peeves where I wanted to hear about any other relationship other than romantic. This is what I was talking about. If this is good, I will be very, very pleased. Yes, I'm excited by this. The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Muller. This cover has been stuck in my head for ages, and it's never about what I think it's about because of the cover. So Charm is a witch, a prisoner, survivor, whore, and a madam. She is the mistress to the emperor himself, and when the emperor is on his deathbed, he charges her with choosing which of his awful faithless sons will carry on the empire by discovering which one is responsible for his own murder. That sounds really good. That sounds a little bit Stardusty, which I'm into. So, but like looking at the cover, I don't think the cover matches with that at all, and I don't know if that's just because I've got preconceived notions about what it should be. But I just don't think the cover matches up with what I think it should be. I'm intrigued with that staying on the list. Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. This, I'm really not entirely sure what the plot is about, but it's a middle grade book that looks like it's full of mystical creatures, and we know how I feel about mystical creatures, so it's staying on the list. A Kind Voice in Hell by Ames Mullery. This sounded more contemporary sci-fi than I wanted it to be. It's about a story about an occult-obsessed billionaire looking for a way to bring gladiators into the 21st century, a trans man with a hero complex who had never known illness a day in his life, and the disabled people caught in the middle. It contains queer love, found family, and a hero who needs to sit down and shut up before he tries to help anyone. Now, see, that sounds okay. Am I changing my mind? No. No, I'm not, because I don't love gladiator things, and it sounds like our protagonist is going to sign himself up as a gladiator, and I'm just No, that doesn't interest me. The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. This is staying on there because I have to read the second one first. So as long as I'm still into it after the second one, I will carry on and read it. But it's the third one in a trilogy. I didn't say that first. It's the third one in the Deadly Education trilogy. I've reread the first one now. I need to read the second, and then I will read the third. If I don't like it, I will ditch it, but for now it's staying on there. The Absinthe Underground by Jamie Pacton. I'll be honest, I've already bought this book. I bought it last night to treat myself because I can't remember what the plot is. Couldn't tell you, but the cover is so pretty. I have to read it. So that's a yes, that's staying on there. Pyramids by Terry Pratchett. It's a Terry Pratchett I haven't read. It's staying on the list. Bonesmith by Nikki Powell Prato. This was described as Gideon the Ninth meets the Game of Thrones White Walkers. It may be young adult, but if it can pull that off, I will forgive it. It's staying on the list. The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. I am no longer interested. I am no longer interested in this book. I don't really care about Red Riding Hood retellings, and I think I'm kind of done with this genre. I don't think I'm very impressed with anything else I've read by Ava Reid or what I've heard about her writing, so that's just coming off the list. Starter Villain by John Scalzi. Yes, this is staying on the list. I have enjoyed both books. I've read Fuzzy Nation and I've read The Kaiju Preservation Society, and I love them both. They're not fantastic, but they are hugely enjoyable, and I will be giving this one a go. Also, this cover, Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. I'll be honest, if I hadn't bought it the other day for £1, I probably would have taken this off, but I own the book now, so we'll be giving it a go. It might be a DNF, but I own it now. The Undetectables by Courtney Smith. This just sounds really good. Be gay, solve crime, take naps. Yeah. A magical serial killer is stalking the occult town of Racton. Hypnotic whistling causes victims to chew their own tongues off, leading to the killer being dubbed the Whistler. Original, right? That's written. I didn't say that. That's in the blurb. The Undetectables, a detective agency run by 3 witches and a ghost in a cat costume. Don't ask. They are hired to investigate the murders, but with their only case so far left unsolved, will they be up to the task? Mallory, the forensic science expert, is struggling with pain and fatigue from her recently diagnosed fibromyalgia. Cornelia, the team member most likely to go rogue and punch a police officer, is suddenly stirring all sorts of feelings in Mallory. Diana, the social butterfly of the group, is hitting up all of her ex-girlfriends for information, and not forgetting the ghostly Theodore, deceased, dramatic, and also the agency's first dead body and unsolved murder case. That sounds really good. Well, that sounds really good. It's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad, and I will only find out by reading it, so it's staying on the list. Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. I have heard nothing but good things about this book. However, I have been told that it's a very powerful book, and I may need to mentally prepare myself a little bit for how upsetting, distressing, much it's going to be. It's about facing your past and the future and the violent history of America, and yeah, I'm either going to really enjoy this or I'm going to absolutely hate it, and again, I will only find out by reading it, so it's staying on the list. Say I Boo by Morgan Spellman. I don't think I was thinking very hard when I put this on my TBR. This is not my kind of book. It's coming off the list. Dark City Omega by Elizabeth Stevens. Fantastic cover. Not my type of book. Don't really know what I was thinking when I put this on the list. A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers. I've heard a lot about this, and I think I put it on there because other people were reading it and saying good things about it. I don't think I'd enjoy this book at all, so it's going. The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I got as far as having the library book in my hand, and then I ran out of time to read it. So I need to get this back from the library and I need to read it because it sounds like it's going to be a bit Sherlock Holmesian in the sense that there's a Justicar and his, helper person. And that sounds really good. Queered by Max Turner. Now, I own this copy. I picked it up at BristolCon, but it's such a specific mood that I have to be in to want to read A, an anthology, and B, an anthology of porn. I'm taking it off my TBR, and I'm taking away that, the bit where I feel like I have to read everything on my TBR. I'm just taking that pressure off myself. If I read it, I read it. That's great. But it's not officially on my TBR anymore. Women on Porn by Fiona Fira Gray. Again, this falls into the category of, I would probably listen to this on audiobook if I listened to it at all. But this is the sort of thing I would want to, consume in documentary format rather than in a book format. So this is coming off the list because I just don't think I will get to it, because the effort it will take to read the book is going to put me off. In the Company of Witches by Aurelie Wallace. This is about a guest who dies in a B&B and the young witch who helps her aunts run it has to solve the murder. It's just another cozy fantasy mystery, but isn't enough in there to like hook me into actually wanting to read it. So this is no, that's going. The Bird King by G. Willow Wilson. This is about Fatima, the concubine in the royal court of Granada, the last emirate of Muslim Spain, and her dearest friend Hassan, the palace map maker. Hassan has a secret. He can draw maps of places he's never seen and bend the shape of reality. When the Sultan ends up surrendering and Hassan's secret comes out and they have to escape and flee and look after themselves and survive. This, I don't know if I'm going to love this, but I'm going to give it a go. So it's staying on the list. Soldier in the Mist by Jean Wolfe. This is one that I've heard quite a lot about, and I've seen this series on loads of charity shops and in the library, and I thought it would be cool to like give it a go. I'm just not interested. I didn't realise there was a time travel element. Okay, it's a Roman mercenary who, while fighting in Greece, receives a head injury that deprived him of his short-term memory, but gave him in return the ability to see and converse with the supernatural creatures and the gods and goddesses who invisibly inhabit the ancient landscape. So yeah, that sounds okay, but I also just don't think I'm going to enjoy it. I can already tell, because this was written in like 1986. Knowing how I feel about books written in that time period and knowing how hit or miss they are for me, I'm giving this one a miss. After the Forest by Kel Woods. This just does not sound up my alley at all. 20 years after the witch in the gingerbread house, Greta and Hans are struggling to get by. Their mother and stepmother are long dead, Hans is deeply in debt from gambling, and the countryside lies in ruin, its people starving in the aftermath of a brutal war. Greta has a secret though, the witch's grimoire, hidden away and whispering in Greta's ear for the past 2 decades, and the recipes inside that make the best gingerbread you've ever tasted. As long as she can bake, Greta can keep her small family afloat. That just doesn't sound appealing to me, so it's coming off the list. And that was the last one. So, I think that was a pretty successful culling. I feel a lot better about my TBR. My next step was to look at my physical TBR and probably cull that, but I might try the thing where you read the first chapter of every book in order to decide that, but that will be a separate video, so look out for that. That might be coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you think I shouldn't have culled any books that I have decided to, or if you have found some new recommendations through me listing a bunch of books that I want to read. I realise I didn't go into super detail about the blurbs or the content of some of these books, but like, hey, covers are a good reason to pick up a book too. Thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you liked the video, and if you want to see more from me, please do hit subscribe, because it helps my channel and it lets YouTube know that other people might want to see my stuff too and helps me get recommended. So thank you very much, and I will see you next Sunday.